सही बोलना।
We barged into waters. Water did not barge into us. Why? Because the 90 acres lake is now reduced to just 12 acres due to encroachment for house plots.
ये किस्सा हुआ देखो।
Hyderabad experienced 70 rainfall in 6 days of October 2020. On 13th October alone, the city recorded 19.2 rainfall, the wettest day since 1903. Water could not find place in lakes and started flooding colonies in and around many water bodies across the Twin Cities. Jalpali Lake overflowed and Guram Chervu Lake at Balapur was breached by authorities partially on 13th October to let out excess waters that were flooding colonies at the back. But the pressure of water totally breached the bund at Guram Chervu on 16th October, causing flash floods. With nalas encroached or narrowed, it spilled onto roads and submerged houses and businesses in its course through Baba Nagar, Krishna Reddy Nagar, Uppaguda, Arundhati Colony, Yakutpura and Azampura to finally reach Malakpet, that is 18 kilometers away.
मैं न्यू मलकपेट में रहता हूँ.
I live in New Malakpet. These are CIB quarters constructed over 70 years back by the government during the Nizam era, and nothing is illegal. There is no flooding in this locality before, but this time waters came up to this level.
पानी आया था.
Flooding was all over the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad. Private and public property worth thousands of crores of rupees was damaged or destroyed. It is reported on 6th November 2020 that the Chief Justice of Telangana High Court observed. Surveys claimed that nearly 45% of Hyderabad city was submerged due to the recent torrential rains, and 80% of water bodies disappeared in the city, and full tank levels of all lakes were mushroomed with constructions either approved or unapproved. If you allow them under the regularization scheme, then by 2050, the whole Hyderabad will be flooded.
We live in Anand Park. Suddenly, waters came up to chest level and we could save our mother and children with difficulty. Nobody warned us in advance and we could not save our household goods.
I am residents of Virasat Nagar, Toli Chowki. Previously, the water of Jubilee Hills was diverted toward Banjara Hill and it was going towards Hussain Sagar. Now that this Nala has been diverted towards Toli Chowki in Virasat Nagar, where there is a heavy rain, this Nala is flooded and the water level is reaching here at this height.
The devastation did not spare anyone, the poor, the middle class and the rich. Villas of celebrities reported to be priced at 5 crore rupees and above also faced nature's fury. The meek and the mighty were equally humbled. These floods also took away at least 50 precious lives of Hyderabad.
पानी एकदम तेज हो गया. हम लोग सीढ़ियों गेट के सामने सीढ़ियों पे ठहरे थे.
Flood waters were gushing fast. We were standing outside our gate. Suddenly, the platform on which we were standing collapsed, and my brother, 3 daughter-in-laws, and 2 grandchildren were swept away.
मेरे पूरे बाहर निकल गए. मेरे पोतरा पोतरी है छोटे छोटे.
अम्मी पानी आया अंदर उठो बोले. हम लोग उठे. अब छोटे छोटे.
My daughter had come to visit us. Floods suddenly came in the middle of night, and my son, daughter, and 2 grandchildren were washed away.
On an average, there is a lake within 3.5 square kilometers in Hyderabad, and with waters hitting 18 kilometers away, As is seen in Malakpet, every house and every family of Hyderabad has now become vulnerable. Floods in Hyderabad have become a matter of life and death. Why has this happened?
The flooding that has happened in Hyderabad has happened in two different ways. First time on the 13th of October, when it rained heavily, we were not able to discharge the water when we should have. All our sluices were jammed, we were not able to let go of the water, and so the water kept on filling and went further and further and further up, and then inundated all the houses in the foreshore of the tank and in the shoulders of the tank. The second thing that happened is, this happened in Usman Nagar. The second thing that happened is that in places like Baba Nagar, in places like Al Jubair colony, what actually happened is that you have the Gurram Cheruvu tank, which could not any longer hold the water, so the bund breached. And on the night of 17th, when the bund breached, we had no way of controlling the flow that was going into all the houses, and this water took a lot of septage also along with it. So it was full of fecal matter, and all the houses were completely damaged.
A common citizen sees a water body as a stinky pond, a drainage sewage pool just adjacent to his house, which stinks, and he sees it as a disease causing to his children. Then the third major issue is whenever there is a rain, it floods his house.
If there is no agricultural activity in Hyderabad, and lakes can become the cause of diseases, stench, and life-threatening floods, then why do we continue to have lakes in the city?
All the water bodies were interlinked to stop flooding of Hyderabad city. Now, when these have been encroached, the major reason is flooding of the colonies. Now, these water bodies serve for the purpose of stopping flooding, then to raise the water table, groundwater table, and also to provide drinking water facility to Hyderabad city.
If lakes were meant to prevent floods and to preserve water tables, then why have we lost so many lakes in Hyderabad?
Hyderabad, the urban land, has become a commodity since the merger of the erstwhile Nizam state with Andhra Pradesh because of increasing population. So, as a result, the real estate mafia is looking for the easy source of land, that is water bodies. So, water bodies, you eliminate the farmers by buying the farmland, then the other stakeholders, fishermen and washermen, by poisoning the water and dirtying the water. Once the stakeholders are eliminated, then you are free to use that land, which is worth the gold.
Now we are at the Hashmatpur Lake, which is the classic example of systematic encroachment, and which is the counterpart of Hyderabad Hussain Saga. And the systematic encroachment starts in the first phase. They destruct the surplus wear of and then allow the lake waters to flow away, which happened last 3 years. And today the lake waters have gone down and almost 50% of the lake is empty. One can see at the periphery the encroachment and the soil fillings and also the constructions. In fact, the multi-storied buildings on the periphery are located within the FTL. So this is the tragic part of it. And government, on the name of beautification and restoration of this lake, got the budget of 3.5 crores, and what they did was they only destroyed the surplus wear against the Irrigation Act and created a parallel channel which dewaters the entire waters coming from the catchment area, which is from the 5 lakes in the upstream. So one can see the impact of the dewatering happens with lowering of the lake waters and then slowly eutrophication. Eutrophication is nothing but land formation slowly dominates the aquatic situations, and terrestrial plant species start dominating the aquatic plant species. Like here you can see the terrestrial plant species almost pushing away the water hyacinth, which is an aquatic landform.
To know how ownership is claimed of this land created in the water bodies, we have to understand the practice of Ek Fasal Patta, or title for single cultivation, introduced during the period of the Nizams.
Now, this Ek Fasal Patta was granted by the then Nizams of Hyderabad to the people who were residing near the lake areas or poor people, because most of the time it was drought rid area. People were allowed to do some cultivation like jowar, jawari in the FTL areas, because whenever there was summer time, the water used to recede and people used to sow seeds of jawar and grow their crops. Then what happened is, after this Mrigashira Karte, people were very strictly told to remove everything, that is somewhere around June 6th and June 1st, between 1st and June 6th, so that monsoon will start and lakes would get filled up again. And after the merge in 1956 with Andhra Pradesh, with Andhra, this Ek Fasal word got deleted due to misunderstanding and only Patta was left out. And people who were cultivating these lands became pattedars of those lands, and they started cultivating it continuously, and they were possessing it as their own property. And this continued even till today.
As rightly pointed out by Sri Thakur Rajkumar Singh, these beneficiaries of Ek Saal Fasal, they were given an impression that they are the landowners and pattedars, permanent pattedars of that piece of land. In hand in glove with administration, revenue officials particularly, and then the vested political system, they started requesting for land use conversion from an agriculture land to urban constructional purposes. Revenue officials have clearly given them this conversion permission and remarked the same land, its survey number. For example, it is 131 by 2, 3 and 4. This gave them lot of leverage to the beneficiary or the pattedar to sell the land to number of people. So this created a perfect mechanism to regularize land reclamation from the lake beds for urban constructional purposes. Unfortunate part is, it is the common man who got in this cobweb.
People buy these lands without realizing the underlying scam and spend their hard-earned money to construct houses on what are actually lake beds, and so their houses get submerged regularly. Over 500 houses in Usman Nagar are still underwater, even 1 month after the floods in October 2020.
यहाँ पर तकरीबन 22-23 साल से हम लोग इधर यहाँ पर पूरा पानी आ गया पूरा.
We are living here since 23 years. Now over 500 houses in our locality are under waters of the lake. We have all proper documents like registration papers, municipal assessments with door numbers, and we also get electricity bills.
लाइट के बिल भी आते हैं यहाँ पर, पूरा हाउस नंबर भी है घरों का.
Government should take measures to prevent registration of lake bed land in sub-register offices. If these plots cannot be registered, then those encroaching these lake beds will not get any profit, and common people will also be saved from unknowingly buying these encroached lands.
But unfortunately, because of various reasons, these patta lands, though they are under FTL, they have been converted and housing construction had taken place for the last 4-5 decades. At least I feel that now this government should take steps, and if possible they should enact a law where new constructions should not be allowed, or the land conversion should not be allowed for future constructions in the tank bed level.
Generally, it is the poor who are blamed for encroachment of water bodies. But actually, it is the rich, big-ticket builders and even government who are guilty of massive encroachments. It is not just encroachment of lake beds, but also jamming and closure of age-old sluices for letting excess waters out that is causing many colonies to submerge.
There are two outlets from Sahatim Lake. One is an ancient slough from Qutub Shahi period that is now deliberately jammed, and the other is known as modern outlet of 5 feet diameter constructed by Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad that is also closed. If these two outlets can be reopened, then the regular flowing of Toli Chowki can be prevented.
Along with encroachment of lakes, the nalas are also narrowed. Free flow of waters through the nalas is tampered by building roads on their path. Even houses and commercial buildings are constructed on top of the nalas that greatly reduces the passage available for flow of water. When there is a discharge from the lakes in large quantities, the waters cannot go through the narrow passages left in the nalas and so enter and flood houses and roads.
But with rampant development, unauthorized constructions or regularized constructions, unnecessary or wrong permissions, what has happened is the inflow channels to the lake is completely blocked. And because of this, the lake was not filled up. So because this lake was not filled up, then where this water went? So this water went everywhere else where it was not supposed to go, into some colonies nearby, and you know what has happened into Hyderabad.
The government is seriously pursuing this issue, and very recently the government had announced a program to protect the nalas under the name Strategic Nala Development Program, and the chief engineer is appointed today.
The recent devastation of floods could have been averted had the government had a proper maintenance and checking on the encroachment of land by the innumerable people, scrupulously following the provisions of Land Encroachment Act 1905. Provisions of Land Encroachment Act scrupulously clearly says that no encroachment shall be allowed in the land. The government issued GO 111 with a view to and in order to protect the water bodies, that is two water bodies, Usman Sagar and Himayat Sagar, which provides drinking water to the twin cities of Hyderabad. Within the radius of 10 kilometers, no development or construction is permitted, and beyond that there is a buffer zone which is called buffer zone. In that area also no activities of construction or development is permitted.
2 acts and 1 GO, namely Section 24 of Telangana Land Revenue Act of 1370 Fasli or 1905 AD, Volta, Water, Land and Trees Act and GO 111 are available for protection of water bodies. Armed with these laws, any person can make a complaint to the Gram Panchayat, local municipal bodies, collector, National Green Tribunal, the High Court or the Supreme Court for necessary action against any encroachment of water bodies or other public and government lands.
I used to go for a walk daily near Sarunagar Lake. I found the Sarunagar Lake to be in a very bad condition. The lake was subjected to encroachment, and garbage was being dumped inside, and the lake was vanishing gradually. Then I took the people and I started the movement, the Save Lake movement, and then we collected people and went to government officials. We could not get much help from them. Ultimately, I filed a public interest litigation in High Court, and then I myself argued in the court about the plight of Sarunagar Lake, and then the court was very much pleased and it gave an order to revive the lake and
revive 170 lakes listed by Huda in Hyderabad.
In recent times, government departments, National Green Tribunal and the courts have become active in addressing the problem of encroachment of lakes and water bodies. In September 2020, it is reported that the Telangana government cancelled the NOCs of 18 construction giants like Aparna, Alien Space Station, Indus Creft, NCC Builders and others that are coming up within the FTL of Tellapur Lake. In July 2015, 150 houses were demolished that were built within the FTL of Shettikunta Lake on the orders of NGT. On 22nd October 2020, the High Court of Telangana took suo motu notice of newspaper reports and admitted as PIL. The High Court then passed orders directing the Telangana government to form lake protection committees, identify FTLs of all lakes, survey of all illegal structures and water bodies, culverts and buffer zones, and removal of all illegal structures. It is reported that in February 2020, the High Court ordered GHMC and Revenue Department not to allow constructions by Aparna Constructions and Estates Private Limited at Nallagandla Lake. A significant example is of the High Court of Telangana taking a letter written by a citizen about the encroachments in Hussain Sagar Lake as a PIL, public interest litigation, and directed the government of Telangana to furnish information about the steps being taken to protect the lake bed. The court also appointed a senior advocate to help the court as amicus curiae. At the launch of TS-B Pass in November 2020, Minister for Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Government of Telangana, Mr. K.T. Ramarao announced that the new GHMC Act will have powers to demolish illegal constructions and encroachments on water bodies. GHMC officials identified 12,182 unauthorized constructions in 173 major nalas, and work has started for demolition of 800 illegal encroachments in the first phase.
एनक्रोचमेंट एक ऐसी टूल है जिसको लेकर के आप जब पीटना शुरू करेंगे गरीब लोगों को पीटेंगे और किसी को नहीं पीटेंगे.
Encroachments is a tool that is used to hit only the poor and no one else. There may be a rare instance like Ayappa Society where 30 houses were demolished. It was required to leave 15% land for the poor in the built-up area in the master plan. We left only 5%. If this city does not give living space to the poor, what will they do? They will have to intrude somewhere. Where will they go?
For all developments. अब ये वाली शहर आम लोगों को रहने के लिए जगह सीधा सीधा नहीं देगी तो लोग क्या करेंगे? तो कहीं से तो घुसना है ना उसको. कहाँ जाएंगे?
Indeed, it is not always the orders of the courts and NGT are followed, and the high and mighty still manage to protect their encroachments, even as the poor and middle class see their dwellings demolished.
We came to know that in the year 2005 that this Patel Cheru lake is being encroached by some people, and they were building 2 theatres on it. We filed many complaints before the government officials. They didn't respond, so we approached the High Court of AP. After so much of struggle, we got a beautiful order that to demolish the building along with those 2 theatres. But the government officials did not respond till late.
There seems to be 4 ways in which citizens can address the issues of encroachment of water bodies and their protection that have now become a matter of life and death for the people and the city. The first and the simplest way is to report any encroachments you see on water bodies or public lands through land or debris filling or erection of fences by calling 1800-599-0099, the special helpline number of the GHMC that was started on 5th July 2020. Remember, the identity of the complainant is kept strictly confidential. The second is to reclaim and protect water bodies in your areas through community action.
I'm a resident living in a colony surrounding this lake, Nerella. Because lack of maintenance, this lake became like converted to a garbage dump. We pulled up close to 2.5 lakhs and started dredging the lake, strengthening the bunds, and also planted a few trees. Then we reached out to the ITCSR forum funds, and many of the companies have come voluntary and put a lot of trees. This is a great collaboration between public and government to restore a water body to the maximum.
The third part the citizens can take is to approach the National Green Tribunal and the courts of law for protection and restoration of water bodies in their areas.
People should come together and they should approach the government to protect the lakes and water bodies. And even if they don't find good response, they can go to court of law. And even if the government itself is encroaching, they can go against the government also and fight the case.
Nobody is taking care of our colony for the last 20 years. They only come at the time of elections, give a lot of promises, but later they never come back or do any good.
One refrain that is heard often is about the direct involvement, indirect patronage, or indifference of political leaders of different levels in the illegal encroachments of water bodies and government and Waqf lands. So the fourth and very important action required from the citizens is to make protection of water bodies an issue for all elections, from the Panchayat, Municipal, Assembly to the Lok Sabha, along with issues like education, health, employment, civic amenities and security.
The recent flood that took place, the damage caused by it could have been reduced to a great extent had the politicians and all implemented the laws that are in place. If this is to be prevented in the future, the people should see that the person who is elected are the ones who have been fighting for the preservation of water bodies and restoring them.
It is time citizens demand that a new act must be passed immediately by the government that will reclaim all the lands in the full tank levels of water bodies and along nalas, make permanent fencing mandatory, provide compensation to all who have sold lands in and around water bodies fraudulently before demolishing their buildings, initiate stringent action against and persecute officials and parties responsible for conversion of lands of water bodies into residential or commercial plots.